Yeah, so here we go again. Yesterday, that being Saturday the 8th of June, I spent all day in limbo, did not leave the flat, barely left bed. Um, had a good start into this day, Sunday the 9th of June, that being. Um, Somewhat interrupted, but I did manage to fold up all my laundry and I did manage to have a shower, which was much needed and overdue. Continuing on from before I was cut off, I only just left my flat and I realised my car battery is not dead, but certainly can't provide the power required to start, which is not great news. But that is the reason I was interrupted. I am currently waiting for breakdown assistance from the German Automobile Association. Um, I just got my call, and I will get another call within the next hour about someone coming to jump me. So that's something. Looking forward to that, I guess. Uh, because then I'll have the car on the road. I'm slightly concerned the battery was drained. I mean, to the point where when you crank it, the voltage drops enough for the computer to shut down the display in the front with your odometer and so on. The trip have been reset, and my battery currently has 12 volts, so I highly suspect I might have a dead battery on my hands, and I'll have to get another one of those. That'll set me back another €80. Yay! Um, Money, good subject. I might be cut off at any point in time, but I'll just talk anyways. Um, I got mail Friday night after talking to myself. From BAföG office, from the BAföG Amt, the Office for Student Loans slash Grants. Half loan, half grant. You have to pay it back. Half of it, that is. But it's interest free, so it's the best loan you'll ever get. Apparently now, in a week's time, I should be getting the money for April, May, and June. But of course, there's a caveat. In my eyes, they still owe me money for February and March because they gave me less than I should have gotten because they hadn't considered the fact that I needed to commute to my place for internship for which I was getting money. Not only did they not say anything about that, they deducted the money they transferred in December and January because apparently I'm earning money with my internship, or I was earning money with my internship. So they haven't even addressed my correspondence, which is slightly concerning. Good news is, I guess, I'm compulsive enough to have taken video of me dropping off the mail in their mailbox, and I did date it, and I have it all on video. Odds are I'm never going to see that money. Bad news, because I'm really starting to get to the point where I should buy things like clothing and so on. Just chucked another pair of pants in the bin because they were too thin and torn. So yeah, you know. The universe works in mysterious ways. Anyways, at least I'll be able to pay off some of my debts with the money I got coming. And I'll be able to keep living, I guess. I'll be able to buy groceries again, yay. Not like I haven't been doing so, but what I have been doing so is basically going further into debt with my future self, which is not great. Another thing I need to address sometime, but fairly low on my priority list, is my bank have been charging me $15 a month for the past couple of months for having a credit card with them. I never signed up for any $15 a month, so here goes a car speeding at approximately 50 kph in front of me, eh? I never signed up for that, so I need to fight that. I mean, I don't even need the credit card, I use it once in a blue moon. So it's just annoying that they decided, ooh, we're just going to charge you without even notifying you. Good news, I caught it, and I'll have to sort the bureaucracy for that, you know. Just don't end, you know. Good news is this too will end. I mean, the car now is roadworthy as much as it's not starting. At least I don't got to worry about dodgy tyres or so. So that's something, you know. The battery do read 12 volts. I have a voltmeter right here. And the battery read 12 volts. I have to switch it on because otherwise it's just a parasitic train. and I suspect maybe the dash cam was too much a parasitic drain, just because the battery still have the voltage, but it can't supply the amps, which means it remained at a voltage while giving out power and losing potential amp hours. I'm not sure. The voltage is low enough that the camera should not switch, but it did switch on, so perhaps I'll have to change some settings once I got the car running, and that was a parasitic drain after all. The only other thing I'd done that stood out is I did unpop the driver's side repeater indicator and clean the contact on that, because I noticed it weren't going when I locked the car. I'm slightly concerned with my writing for my thesis. Not that I'll manage, but that it may be too much an expense to manage. After having spent all of Saturday in limbo and half of Thursday in limbo, slightly concerning, because I've done 2 days of writing work and spent 1.5 days in limbo. That's not sustainable. So I'll have to figure that one out, you know. That's going to be a fun one. Once I get the car on the road later on, I'll drive around some. The reason I'd done so in the first place, I decided I had to start the day by getting out of my place, you know. Spent the past, 30 some hours in there, so might as well get out of it for a change. Obviously not economical, burning diesel for the sake of it. But sometimes you just have to get out of the place, and then you do. That brings up another aspect, and that is on yesterday, Saturday the 8th of June, I only had 2 tobacco cigarettes, which brought up the internal conflict of mine of, in the past I've been able to use my tobacco cigarette consumption as indicator for my mental state of being, and with trying to reduce my cigarette consumption, my tobacco cigarette consumption, this is no longer as much a reliable indicator. I obviously still have the shower indicator, and I hadn't showered for too long, so I weren't doing too well, because more than 2 days and not a prime in days since I last showered, which is really not great. But the smoking actually have value for me on a different level as to the usual levels. It have value to me on that level as well. By the way, it does kill you, so don't do it. But we haven't been doing it so long. I mean, I've been documenting it since the 30th of September 2020, how much I smoke. It's served as a very helpful indicator of my mental state of being, and I am currently trying to get rid of that indicator. Drink of the day is Mio Mio Mate. It's what I currently have a crate off. This one is freshly out the fridge, because I thought I was going to be hitting the road, you know. Little did I know. Usually there's neighbours around one can jump off of. I got jump leads. I never have had to. I have jumped several neighbours, so I'm sure several would be willing to jump me. That's not the issue. It's just the time is going on 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Not the right time to be ringing doorbells and asking for favours. So I did end up calling the Automobile Association, as stated earlier. I guess that's worth the money, even if they just help me out in this one pickle. Cost about $100 a year, I believe. Then again, last winter I had considered buying a battery booster pack for $150. Had I bought it, I would not be in this pickle. Then again, there's only so many insurance policies one can have before it's not in the slightest economically viable. And at the time, I decided battery booster pack was too expensive for me to be buying, so I did not. So here I am, waiting on the not so great, but also available and paid for insurance of German Automobile Association Breakdown Aid, which means within the next hour, which is surprisingly short notice in my book. Past accounts I've heard of waiting for them, it was like 4 hours plus. Someone should rock up and be able to jump me. That's going to be a pleasant one, because then I'll have a car that's running again. For now, for the sake of my ease of mind, I think I'll just assume it was the dash cam for parasitic drain and unplug it when I'm not driving. And perhaps monitor the battery voltage after, and not just run it shortly to get the voltage back up after I've been stood talking to myself or so with the engine off for a while and consumers being on the battery. That might not be the greatest practice. It's what I'd done when I last talked to myself. So, that would have been Thursday. No, that would have been Friday. Yeah, I believe it was Friday. I was at the usual spot, and then I'd driven here. And here I sat in the car a bit, done a thumbnail and so on, with the engine off, and after I just started it again to get the battery back up to voltage, and that might not be the best of practices. I'm starting to figure, With working on a thumbnail, I might as well mention first off, thank you very much for watching and sticking around. It's much appreciated. As of late, some of the past solo therapy sessions have been going mini viral, is what I choose to call it, because there's not remotely anything viral. Is at most a kindergarten or two, because that's where sickness spreads. The cheap jokes. But I have noticed, though the view counts go up, is not remotely as satisfying as the watch time going up, or the time watched, which you're responsible for. Thank you very much for watching these. I'm now at the point where it's approximately 2-to-1 time watched to time spent talking to myself. So, in fact, I am providing more entertainment than it is taking me, which is worth something for you as well, I guess, otherwise you wouldn't be watching, would you? I've been discharging my headphone case just to clean the contacts in it, the charging contacts, because for the right earbud I've noticed it's been bad recently, and I have contact spray, so might as well, that should now be discharged. So once I'm done here, I'll clean out those contacts and my headphones should charge again, no problems whatsoever. There's helicopters flying all over, which is kind of odd for Sunday morning, 10 to 3 in the AM, but still, This car in the past did have battery problems, but that was with previous batteries. This battery has been in it for 4 years or so, and it's been fine the entire time, even in winter, no problem. Then again, I turn the key and wait for the glow plug's light to go off before I try and start it, because everything else would be ridiculous. Admittedly, I have had a fault code for glow plug number 3 since forever, but that's not why it didn't start. It just couldn't crank enough to actually get going. I know that for a fact because I could hear it. I'm not deaf, yeah, I know. This is not a professional speaking event, so I'm doing my ums and ahs. Have been looking more into, on the side, I guess, starting some form of, heavily inspired by a fellow friend of mine who happens to also be autistic. There might be some biases there in selection of friends, but still. That perhaps education of the general public, or communication toward the general public, of being autistic, somewhat on the autistic folks who can speak and can communicate. Because, surprise, not everyone autistic can. And I don't know what it's like to be there with early childhood autism, I believe is the correct translation. I just know the German term is frühkindlicher Autismus. But, I at least know what it's like to be myself. And I believe I owe it to people who cannot speak up for themselves to speak up, because I can. And that's all heavily inspired by the friend who feel much the same about it. So we are both filmmakers, so films it is we aspire to make. Another thing with filmmakers, with Film Club, we were meant to have a bank account 2 months ago. The treasurer and the head of the club have been kind of slacking. I did tell them I'm not giving you an ultimatum yet, but eventually I will have to. Get your ass in gear, do your roles, do your job. Just because currently I believe I am one of the most invested members of Film Club. And I believe me telling them eventually I'll have to give you an ultimatum might get their asses to get going. If it don't, I can't in good faith continue investing into it. My energy and time being. Eventually I may have to let it go. Who knows? But for the time being, I haven't given up on them yet. Which means might as well continue trying, Because what else is it good for? Yeah, I am really rather invested in it. And I highly suspect they still have half a year to year's time before I'm saying fuck you guys. And even then I won't be saying it in a mean way, as much as one cannot say that in a mean way. But simply for the fact of you have taken on a responsibility with this, and you shall follow through on it. And if you haven't followed through on it by a certain point in time, I cannot be the only one investing into this film club becoming a bigger thing than it is already. Though admittedly it's already quite big. It was already not small when I became part of it. And I'd probably still drop by and visit Film Club, but I might not very well be a regular member if they do not get their arse in gear. Because at the end of the day, as a club, there is economic responsibilities, such as paying for the space to meet in and so on. And one have to be able to make sure people are paying up. It's not a charity. It is a charitable club, so no gains are made. But still, people like me who have no income can't afford to sponsor other people who have no income. It's just the plain reality of capitalistic society, I guess. Just a reminder, I might be gone any minute. I shall return at a later point in time. Because as time passes, it's becoming more and more likely that the breakdown assistance shall call, which I'm looking forward to. As of responsibilities, my plants have been growing rather big. Soon they'll have outgrown the box I currently have for them, which means I'll have to figure out another way of storing them. I have gotten myself some waterproof tarp, and I may just construct something with some heavy duty shelving units, like the legs of them and the side pieces, because I have spares, because they wear cheap and I am not using as many as I once was. And I think I can just do like boxes of those, 2 of those in the same thing, and grow my 2 plants vertically. I have considered giving one to a friend or so, just because I'm only doing it for the principle, and there's no point in me growing 2 plants, to be fair. Because with the car smelling of hemp frequently due to someone smoking hemp in it while they're driving, that someone being me, I cannot have any legal substance in my blood because I will be questioned. The moment I am pulled over, I will be questioned and have my blood checked and whatsoever. And it's fine by me, honestly. I don't mind. Even though I am very much so considering not extending the substituting tobacco with hemp program beyond its current scope. I believe I will want to continue consuming hemp in my life just because it makes me a chiller person. It's more pleasant for me, more pleasant for my surroundings, might as well. At this time, it would be constituting self-medication. Then again, it's not a controlled substance, so I am not concerned about it. Then again, I could get it properly prescribed from doctors, but they would not prescribe it to be smoked. They'd prescribe some CBD oils or so, I highly suspect, which somewhat defeat the purpose of it for me. I like the ritual very much, which is why I happen to be smoking right now. It's just a pleasant activity. Do not do it, it kills you. To be doing while thinking, playing chess, drinking, whatever one does. Day before yesterday, Friday night, I did manage to catch up with an old friend from my dad's home turf. Had a half-hour phone call that was very pleasant. Very glad to have talked to him, and I've already made plans to talk with. That wasn't actually the interruption I'd planned, but still it was an interruption. I still plan on getting back in touch with some of the other folks. It's not like we've lost touch. It's just the time between correspondence is rather large. Then again, they have known me all my life, and I have known them all my life, so half year or year between correspondence ain't the world. I mean, the end of the day is 4% of the time we've known each other, so it's not too drastic. I have on that phone call made concessions that I do plan on visiting over there, the island territory, before I drop my bottle lid. Sometime next year, which I do plan on doing so. Just because whatever job I end up getting, I will have to take holidays from. That's a legal requirement. Because I seek employment, I will have to do holidays. And driving over there is not ungraspable for me. Admittedly, driving on the left is slightly worrisome. But I suspect these days I'd manage to adapt. I'd put like stickers everywhere. Left, 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 left. Just as my dad used to. One big fat one in the middle of the steering wheel, you got to have that. And I'd probably manage. I have enough self-esteem these days in my driving, or enough belief in my driving qualities. I believe I'd manage that safely. Admittedly, I probably wouldn't want to drive through London. Then again, a lot of London I would not be allowed to drive in, so fine by me. And that'd also be a good appointment to deliver a load of things to my uncle, which my dad had held, family heirlooms, which are of not much material value, but a lot of immaterial value, at least to the family, like some football collection stuff and so on, from back in the olden days. And I'll be able to deliver that to my uncle. Admittedly, not in big London city, but out in the countryside we'll manage, That's something I'm actually looking forward to. And by the middle of next year, which is what time I'd aim for, realistically, I believe it's economically viable for me to be doing that, spend a couple of grand on diesel, ferry and so on, or maybe even Eurostar, who knows? I mean, the world is open. Then again, odds are I might go via the Netherlands, considering I've moved significantly north and a bit west from where we once set out to the island territories from. That's something we'll manage, I have wondered, and I believe the closest port serving ferries to there would be Rotterdam, which would be handy because that actually land me closer within the island territories as to where I would want to go. And again, it's all to be determined because I have yet to even graduate. Current state of affairs, I could not have graduated in a year. Who knows? Odds are I will have, though. Just because I know I can, I just gotta do it, you know. And if I gotta spend half the days till mid-August in limbo, I shall, I guess. At least for now, I'm getting my student loan / grant, which will keep my running costs covered. What they owe me from now December till March, approximately £1,000 in some. Maybe it's just shy of £1,000 in some. That's money I'll need for clothing and so on, but I'm not too fussed about my appearance as long as my pants are comfy to wear. No one else seems, so fine by me, you know. It's just quality of life things. Like t-shirts, I have a handful of each colour, so platinum grey and anthracite grey, that are not completely washed out, and I prefer those over the others. Surprise. If I got that approaching £1,000 they owe me, odds are I'd replace most of the washed out ones and make the old ones rags. They're still fine t-shirts, it's just they look very off grey, off anthracite grey and off platinum grey respectively, admittedly. Though I am partially to blame for that degradation, by not washing them separately, for example, and by washing them together with my black trousers. I have had them for over 2 years now, so it's only fair I've replaced them sometime. I mean, they are cotton, and theoretically one could presumably bleach them and recolour them, but I don't think that's worth the effort. I mean, they cost a tenner a pop. Sometimes one has just got to be happy with the value one get out of things. Yeah, I could extend the value I'll get out of those. I could not extend the value I'll get out of my pants easily, and I'll have to replace those soon enough. Then again, with getting the money, at least from now on, the money I should spend on things like the car, I could spend some of, at my own discretion, on acquiring some new pants and so on. So, future Ben problems. There we go, that's a thumbnail. I actually find it impressive that I'm sitting here fully awake and happy to be driving a car, which I'm not because battery's still flat, but should be interrupted momentarily with someone announcing their arrival in 10 to 15 minutes. Mass, even though I did not sleep all day yesterday, I awoke at about 8 a.m. after polyphasically sleeping because I've previously awoken at around 5 a.m. And I haven't slept since. And then again, I haven't done much because I spent the time in limbo, just vegetating away, waiting for time to pass, gathering energy. I was in limbo, gathering energy, harvesting the fields that hold energy, where energy grows. One thing I find odd about that is I attribute that to the being human bit, which admittedly everyone I've ever spoken with is human, apparently. But I see the autistic self as capable of more than my human self, which might be odd because I've only ever been an autistic human self. But it's just which things one blames on which aspect, you know. Just fun experiments like that. Yeah, anyways, I think I'll call it quits for now. I'll see you around later. I'm not saying my goodbyes quite yet because I'll most certainly follow up on this before I get to upload. See you around. Stay safe. So I'm back. You may notice I am in a different location. You may also hear the car running in the background. There is a very particular reason for that. I had the suspicions, but I really hoped it was just some parasitic consumption. The car's battery have collapsed. So once I shut it down, I got less than a minute to start it back up, or I'll have to be jumped, which is not something I'm looking forward to, so yay. I've cancelled film club for the day. Told them I ain't going to make it because, surprise, I'm kind of reliant on the car to get around. Reason it's running now is because I still plan on moving. I'm not back home yet. I will most certainly consider a transport service, taxi, Uber, whatever, for getting to uni on Monday. It's really going to hit my wallet bad, and it's going to be an experience I'm not looking forward to because I haven't had such experiences thus far. But it can't be worse than public transport, so I'd rather take the unknown uncertainty rather than the known evil. So yeah, realistically, getting to uni from my place and back is going to cost like high double digits, which is giving me nightmares already, and I haven't even gone to sleep. But good news is I've spent the money. Not only did I order a spare switch for the dash cam because I seem to have misplaced the ones I previously had. Good news, a pack of 5 only cost €7. I also ordered a new lead acid battery for the car, so I'll be fully operational once that arrives. Hopefully latest Wednesday. I went with a particular one because it would arrive Wednesday, not only at Friday. So now I just got to hope it actually arrives. And obviously I mustn't stall the car before I'm home. If the plod pull me over and ask me to shut off the engine, I'll warn them, and after they'll have to organise someone to jump me. That is a big if, because odds are they aren't going to pull anyone over at just shy of 5 AM on a Sunday. Then again, the sun have risen already. Guess that's a phenomenon of being within 12 days of the longest day of the year. Gee, I haven't even got plans for Summer Solace this year yet. Sorry for the background noise, but I have to keep the car running, you know. I guess this might make it less bad. I had the high suspicions, and the voltmeter I got here, which also have the option of charging the phone. It's just an inline 12 volt voltmeter, cigarette lighter to cigarette lighter and USB. That take a moment, and when you're cranking the car, don't even show a voltage because, surprise, other places are getting the power. But the car club guy, breakdown service guy, had a voltmeter on his jumper pack, and while cranking, apparently the battery dropped to 7 volts. So yeah, well, while attempting to crank, they don't crank at 7 volts. Surprise. I have ordered the replacement. It's going to cost me, but so worth it for being able to move. That is the kind of money I'll spend without worrying about it, because I know I need it, and I'd rather not eat than not be able to leave my place or get food. Surprise, going grocery shopping requires a car as well. Yeah, I guess I'm laughing because if I didn't, I'd cry. It's kind of horrendous. I can foresee another day in limbo once I've gone to bed and woken up again. But I guess the things we do, you know, the things that cost us energy. That's nothing one can do to change them. Yeah, one don't have to do them all, but some we do. And for me, having the car is priority over anything, really. I'm pretty sure I've stated this like quite a long time ago, so at least I'm consistent in this thought, you know. Driving here, there wasn't much traffic, surprise, but what traffic there was, half of seemed to be crazy driving Uber drivers, which is why I was wondering whether I should get an Uber on Monday to get to uni and back, or some other service or whatever. But they're all equally crazy in driving. Even though I can't afford the service in the first place, I'll have to. I may just end up asking them nicely to please obey the rules of the road. If they do, I'll tip them. Not that I got money to tip, but it's going to be less painful for me, so, you know. And it'll be a challenge for them, because I'd be surprised if they can actually drive by the rules. Never know. Always find out, I guess. I can still get a running start on the car, and I can still have it jumped. But the thing is, this city is built on formerly a swamp, much as Washington DC, interestingly enough, for the Americans out there. Which is why every construction site has these beautiful pipes for pumping off the groundwater. Which means there also isn't all that many hills. There's 3 or 4 I can think of that do for a jump start. Push start, that is. But none near my place. Which means that's not really an option. Shame, you know. I may be able to get a jump off neighbours, but even if I do that on Monday morning, I won't be able to park on a hill there, and odds are that close to centre no one will give anyone a jump, because city folk, you know. Which would then leave me to get back to my place and to get back to the car with a battery, which means I'm better off just not even trying to get to uni with the car and trying to figure another way. And public transport theoretically is an option, but for me is really non-option. Like, I can't imagine it, I can't fathom it, even though half a year ago I would have done it in the blink of an eye. Well, not half a year ago, but a bit more than half a year ago, 3/4 year ago, I would have done it in the blink of an eye. Shit, time go by, you know, but these days I can't grasp the option. So I'm going to have to pay up. Not something I'm looking forward to, but, you know. If I'd bought a spare battery, that'd be about equal amount. Hell, I have a spare battery, it's just on the wrong side of the country. Prices one pay you to be city folk. Because, surprise, here you don't have a shed. You don't have a garage. You have a eeny weeny flat and an eeny weeny cellar that go with the flat. And there's not enough space to store loads of tools and or spares. So, no spare batteries, you know. Good news, I'll have this one, once I've replaced it, to use for deposit whenever I need another battery. Because it's like €7 deposit. I can see very much so today my cigarette consumption will be back to regular, just because I've decided I'm not going to smoke CBD. I've been awake too long to know the consequences. I have not consumed CBD with being awake this long. I am fully fit for driving, but I don't know if I'd stay that way if I consumed it, so I'm not gonna. I'll have one once I get home, you know, and then figure out if I'd still be fit for driving after. But I'm not experimenting while on the road, particularly as I can't shut down the car and have a lie down in the back of it and then start it up again once I wake up. So no, that's not happening. breakdown service guy was real nice. I'm sure it helped that I wished him a beautiful morning when he phoned 5 minutes out, just as he was getting onto my block of flats. Well, my section of town, I guess, a very small subsection. I know precisely where he was when he called, just from the time it took him. Also greets him again very friendlily once he arrived. We agreed on what the problem was. I demonstrated to him by cranking with his booster pack without giving power, hooked up to the battery. He concurred. So sadly, this battery is scrap. It's served well for about 5 years now, so longer than I've had the car. Shame about it, but that will give me the opportunity to upgrade to a slightly bigger one, which I will have done. This one is 74 amp hours with up to 680 amps cranking. Well, up to 680 amps output, which is while cranking. The new one will be 80 amp hours, and according to Jeff's bookshop, it should still be no problem to fit in this car, and I truly believe it will, because the battery compartment have a lot of space in it. I got all the tools I need, so I got a 10mm socket. You wouldn't believe it. They are apparently mystical and magical, and they vanish. But I'm the only one who accesses my tools. There's no gnomes here stealing my 10mm sockets, you know, so I can change the battery myself. That's not the problem. One thing which I don't know how annoyed I'll be by, I might even tank diesel in Germany, even though I've probably done 200k on this tank already, is my trip is zeroed out because the battery voltage was too low while cranking, which is not good. I don't like that in the slightest, because this is my first tank after new filters and so on, new tyres. I really want to find out my fuel efficiency, and I do not know where it was at before, nor would I be able to add it, particularly as I'll have 3 numbers to add up, and I have at least one unknown. More than likely it'll be 2, because I'll forget to write down what my trip was once I get back. I can imagine driving around for a couple more hours. I might still have a sit down once I get back to my place or so, or somewhere on the road, who knows. So I'm not going to say my proper goodbyes quite yet, but see you in just a moment for you, several hours for me likely. Till then. Yeah, so it hasn't quite been several hours for me. It's been an hour and 56 minutes. The sun has risen. This city is absolutely beautiful with sunrise. I'm happy I left the flat for the day, I guess. I'm just going to shut off the car. Presumably for the last time with this battery, we'll find out. Well, I'll find out, you might not, who knows. I got the new battery on the way, so I'm most certainly going to be using that. I'm not safe to drive for much longer, so I'm happy I do not have to anymore. And I do not get to anymore either, I guess. Might as well disconnect the dash cam if someone around me. Well, pot luck for me. Fuck it, leave it connected. It's not like it's going to go off randomly without any battery, you know. Haha, magic. Yeah, because I'm no longer driving, I am now smoking my CBD blunt. It's one of the mini ones I pre-rolled a few days ago. Thing is, I won't learn if I'll be safe to drive after many waking hours after one of these, because I will no longer be safe to drive in a few minutes anyways. Just by gut feeling, I would not feel safe to operate heavy machinery. I've excused myself from film club today. Believe it's the first time I've excused myself without being out of town. So yeah, that's that, I guess. Then again, I can't be all the film club, and I can't always be the only one unlocking. Others have the ability to as well. It's funny how I value money or not value money in some ways, because getting a new battery was a no-brainer for me. I'd rather do that than pay rent. Luckily at this time I can do both, and even spending a not small sum on Uber to get to uni tomorrow seemed rather logical to me, and I have no problem spending that money, even though that is going to be a pain on the wallet. The only thing I think is dodgy about it is I have no prior experience with Uber, which I'll solve with having an Uber tomorrow, I guess. Then I'll have had prior experience with Uber, you know. I just hope it's not a horrible experience, because if it's a horrible experience, I'm at uni, my car is here, and I would like to sleep here overnight, tomorrow to the day after tomorrow. And that's something I'll have to figure out then. I really don't want to do public transport. If I absolutely have to, I think I'll do buses, because they aren't quite as horrendous. But I really don't want to, like, to the point where I'd probably consider walking before doing such a thing. Comes from oddly privileged position, I am aware, but it's just painful for me. So I ain't gonna be doing that. The city is absolutely beautiful in the morning light, to a point where it might be worth renting a cabriolet one day, and having someone with a gimbal, a camera, and a medium to long lens sit in a passenger seat while driving around on a Sunday morning, just because the city is a ghost town besides the odd Uber and the odd delivery person on a bicycle. And it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. Like you wouldn't believe. I've had a total of 9 cigarettes while driving, and I may even still be able to see how far I drove. Yes, I drove 67k since leaving here earlier. So, if the battery were savable, it would now be saved. The battery voltage is 12.4 volts, so it might still start up. Sorry for that. Camera going off again because I put in the ignition. I'm going to spend the money on getting into town for an Uber, most certainly, just because I will have to gather the experience. Latest September or so, I'll have to have the car in the workshop overnight for MOT, or general inspection. It's not MOT as German, as TÜV or DEKRA or whatever. Hauptuntersuchung und Abgasuntersuchung, a main inspection and an emissions inspection. For that, I will have to have the car in the workshop overnight, and I'll have to get back to this place. And if I budget for it accordingly early enough, I'll probably be using an Uber in between. Otherwise, I'll have to rely on asking someone with a car I know who'd be willing to drive me, which I really don't want to. Partially due to self-esteem, and partially just because of valuing others' time. I do really hope the new battery arrive by Wednesday. I don't have any particular plans for the rest of the week, I believe. There is a children's birthday, the daughter of a good friend of mine, sometime the week, and I have yet to get a gift. Wonder how I'll manage that without a car, but I'll figure something. Maybe I'll order it off Amazon. The specific date is yet to be determined, so I'm assuming it's not tomorrow or the day after. Might still be, who knows, we'll find out, I guess. I figure I'll probably end up getting something like a horse plush toy, because apparently the daughter is at this time into horses. And plush toys are not things that annoy the shit out of parents, because she's also into glitter. But glitter is not a good gift for children. Parents will just clean it up for the rest of their lives, you know. One way I did notice my fitness of driving waning. It hadn't waned yet, and it hasn't still, but it was starting to. Is I was actually doing 32 and a 30. At one point in time in the 60 speed limit, I accelerated all the way to 67 before I stopped accelerating. Admittedly, 67 was as high as the car went, but still. I was driving almost like a normal Berliner, man. That's not healthy at all. Obviously, it's still fit enough for the road in this city. In a city governed by me, it would not be. I reckon I'll just, after this, go to bed. Because I last slept approximately 23 hours ago. Admittedly, I didn't do much in most of the time in between, but still. I am really happy I figured out the car battery was going to be dead. Not while leaving for film club this afternoon after having agreed to unlock the door. And then not being able to show up. I'm very happy I managed to do that early, I guess. It's just kind of funny, but yeah. With prioritization of money and so on, I think I've said this before, but I might as well say it again. I think this car is, for me, the top priority. Maybe the only thing I have before debts to others on my priority chain is this car. The rest, smokes, food, drinks, flat, clothing, all that's lower priority, which is kind of a very German mindset, admittedly, because it's more than 10% of our GDP is motor vehicles. But I guess I'm just very dependent on it. Longer term, I'd either want to change that, or I'd want redundance for the dependents. Now, having two cars on the road at all times is not very economically viable. But, you know, figure something out. Cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah, I'm not going to finish the rest of this. Not because I'm not liking the effects, but just because I'm getting to the point where I kind of want to lie down. Which means I hope you have a beautiful day if it is evening when you are watching this or listening to. I hope you have a good night's sleep or night shift work, whatever you do. Stay safe, I'll see you around. This is me actually signing off. Cheerio.